Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. You know where to find us live right now on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and youtube.com at Pride of Detroit. We're going to jump right into it. Our plan this week is, because it is the new league year about to start here, we're in the tampering period. It's going to move, things are going to move really fast. So there's going to be a lot of smaller PODcasts through the week. So we're not going to waste any time here. This is going to be a quick hitter out here for what's happened here on Monday on 3/11 day. Get out the songs. I'm Chris Perfett, the adequate host at Chris Perfett on Twitter. Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit on Lion. Ryan Matthews, the rock god at Ryan_POD. We have been the trio that for 9 years running have made PODcast sing for you. Jeremy, we have opened up the tampering period, which is really the official start of free agency. It's not, we can say it's the lead up time, but all these contracts were go from the minute that Eric Schlitt, our favorite Eric Schlitt, decided to get up from his computer to go make food for the kids. Immediately, Brad Holmes, in his own way, cooked. And
That's right.
we had 2 or 3 deals here. We're going to get to all of them. We're going to start though with Carlton Davis in a trade, not a free agency, a trade from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jeremy, I think you have the terms for it right now. The Lions are getting back picks and Carlton Davis in exchange for one of their 2 third-round picks for this year.
Yeah, the second of their third-round picks, which is a fairly significant difference. The Vikings pick is I think the 9th pick in the third round, whereas the Lions pick that they gave up is 29th. So literally a difference of 20 spots there. And then they also get a 2024 6th round pick from the Buccaneers in return and a 2025 6th round pick. So technically the Lions gained a draft pick if you want to sum it all together. But obviously, they lose a top 100 pick. It's not an insignificant amount of trade, but I think if you kind of put all the draft picks together, it's essentially like trading a 4th or high 5th round pick together. And a 4th or a 5th, essentially, altogether. And that's I think a less than what some people were expecting if the Lions were to go after. Obviously, L'Jarius Sneed may have cost, I don't know, 2nd round pick. There were some other guys out there that I think a lot of people were projecting about a 3rd round pick. So in general, the Lions went a little cheaper than I think some people were expecting, but also that's how the Lions operate this time of year. They don't make big swings, top end guys. I don't know how many times Brad Holmes has to say it before it sets in, but I think some of the rumors that came out of the NFL Combine may have raised expectations a little bit. With them being connected to the L'Jarius Sneed and Christian Wilkins, and then when those 2 things don't happen, people get a little underwhelmed by this move. But I think there's this move has some of the common pitfalls we've seen some of Brad Holmes' moves, but at the same time, there have been moves that he's made like this that have ended up paying out.
Let's talk about the man himself. Ryan, I think his cap hit is something about $14 million. They're getting him, obviously, this is the last year of his contract. It puts the Lions in a good position that if they want to re-sign him, they'll have the opportunity to do so coming out of there. But let's talk about the man himself. I know in 2 games against the Detroit Lions, he only allowed 26 yards. I believe as of last year, it was about like a 66 passer rating allowed through most of his games. I don't have the numbers on the top of my head. Didn't play the full season, has had a couple of injuries, but in general, I feel like he fits what the Lions do. He's a man cover kind of guy. He's opportunistic with takeaways and pass breakups, and that kind of fits what Aaron Glenn wants in my mind, at least. How do you view Carlton Davis as an addition to the Detroit Lions right now?
I think he immediately steps in and he's either your starting number 1 or you're starting number 2. It doesn't matter. He's immediately inserted into that role. As you mentioned, Chris, like a guy who seems like he might be a little bit more at home playing press man, even though, I mean, he made quite a living for himself playing a lot of zone in Tampa Bay. And I think this is something we talked about on the podcast last week, Jeremy, when we were doing the free agency preview. We had talked about, or I had mentioned, it seems like this Lions defense is best when it can just create turnovers. And if it can create turnovers, even at the expense of maybe giving up a big play or 2, it seems like getting the ball back to the offense is one of the best things that this defense can do
Yeah.
for this football team, and that's what Carlton Davis does. Like it's at least what he did, and I think maybe that is the cause for concern, or maybe some cause for pause for Lions fans is the injury history that Chris had mentioned. Missed 5 games last season, 4 games the year before that, and then missed what 7 games in 2021. It adds up. So there's a little bit of an injury history and a little bit of risk that I think you kind of alluded to, Jeremy. Like it seems like Brad Holmes is like, injuries be damned. Like these guys will pan out, and that kind of speaks to the other guy we're going to talk about here in a minute. But Carlton Davis, I think, Jeremy, it makes you feel really comfortable, I think, at least with where the starting players are on the outside, right? But like this doesn't take corner off the board at 29.
No, they feel kind of in a similar spot to where they were last year, in that like they got 3 guys that are now capable of starting on the outside. They got Cam Sutton, they got Emmanuel Mosley, they got Carlton Davis, 3 guys that are capable. You're kind of rolling the dice on 2 of them with Mosley and Davis in terms of their injury history, but they're capable. And if you get a little bit lucky, both those guys are going to be there. But again, Davis is on the last year of his contract. Mosley is on a 1-year deal. Sutton is on the second of his 3-year deal, and the Lions can get out of it long term. So yeah, I don't think this changes anything in terms of what the Lions could do in the draft. But with Davis himself, like I get the upside. This guy was second in PBUs in back-to-back seasons, 2019 and 2020. I think it was 19 and 18 in those 2 years. He can get the ball in his hands, and I think, like you, I think he's better suited to man, and they didn't play a lot of man under Todd Bowles in Tampa. He's a physical guy. You're going to hate this, Lions fans, but he ran a 4.53, so he's not like your big speed athletic guy. But, when these Lions players were getting out physical at the line, when they weren't able to play press man and send blitzes like they did at the end of last season, they struggled. And it was Colton Pouncey pointed this out. There was a interview with Brian Branch and Aiden Hutchinson from the Super Bowl this year, and they were and Brian Branch revealed at some point Aaron Glenn was like, I need to get back to the basics. I need to get back to what we do, which is be physical, attack on the defense, and try to let the corners win. And that's what they did at the end of the year, but they didn't have the corners that could play really good press man. Now they do. And so I think that's what they're going to go back to, maybe push back on some of the zone stuff that they were doing early in 2023. And I think Davis is a good fit for that. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be a shutdown number 1 corner, but he's also 27 years old. Like there's still room for him to grow in this game. I think he lands in Detroit in a better fit, and we'll see what the Lions do. My biggest issue with the signing really is the contract. You got 1 year, and it's a $14 million salary that you inherit. Now,
which, by the way, I think in the first 2 years of that contract, like the first year was $8 million, the second year was like 7.5. So this is almost both those years combined what he's making this year.
Right, it's a backloaded deal, like a lot of teams do. And so my question is, are the Lions going to adjust that? Are the Lions going to figure something out with that? Are they going to add voided years? Are they going to sign him to an extension? Are they going to convert some of that salary into a signing bonus, which I think they will? I feel like they kind of have to, because $14 million out of your salary cap in year 1, right off the bat, like that almost cuts their spending money in half for everyone else. Now, I don't expect the Lions to go nuts for the rest of free agency, but that to me is like the trickiest part, and it's not ideal, but you can't just make that $14 million disappear necessarily. But if you spread it out over a couple of years, it suddenly feels a little bit better.
I agree with you. I think they will probably spread this out. Like, I don't think if you're investing a top 100 pick into this guy, I don't think it's just going to be for a rental. That doesn't seem to fit their philosophy. So it seems like priority 1 is changing the contract to something a little more team friendly, probably a little more friendly for Davis as far as years as well. See how he likes playing here and just kind of go from there. Should we move on to the other signing? I think we should probably move on to the other signing of the day, the actual free agent signing that we had. Marcus Davenport. formerly of the Minnesota Vikings. I had it right the first time, and I almost stepped over myself and went back to it. Formerly of the Saints, and that's important because he actually played there. He actually got drafted when Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell were with New Orleans at the time. So this is a bit of a reunion. A 1-year deal. I think the base is around like 6.5 million with incentives. You were getting up to about 10 million or so. Now, we talked already about how Brad Holmes likes the open box special. He does not mind about injury history. To him, and I kind of agree with that a little bit just because it's football. You're going to get hurt at some point. But I understand it is a concern for a lot of fans. Davenport is 27 years. He's been struggling to develop a little bit. He's been kind of coming on, but he spent a lot of last year hurt. I believe he only played
4 games?
Was it 4 games, I think? So he spent a lot of 2023 hurt. But it is someone that the Lions are, at least from their coaching staff, familiar with. He's a pure pass rusher. He's not going to do you much in the run game and just continues to add to these edge rushers that the Lions are amassing that seem to go into this vast, massive rotation opposite Aiden Hutchinson right now that now includes Pascal and Kaminsky as well, Ryan. So we'll get into, I think, why where do you want to start with this, Ryan? Because I know reaction from the fans have been a little bit more mixed. I personally don't see the issue. It's not a premier player, but it is still a position where the Lions did need some more depth. And if you're not going to get a premier guy opposite Aiden Hutchinson, which you might not be able to, the best you can do is just see who's going to work out for you among a rotation or just specific pieces for specific roles.
Yeah, I think they have something here, I think, in Marcus Davenport. And this was a player that not only was highly drafted, pick 14 in the 2018 draft where the Lions got Ragnow at 20. The Saints moved up. They traded a first-round pick to move up and get Marcus Davenport. And he was just kind of this, went to UTSA.
He was a monster there.
Massive
road
runner. 6'6", 265. And the guy's best trait is his pass rushing ability, right? Like, I don't think you normally get that from a guy who's, 6'6", 265, who it's like his run defense, take it or leave it, but like his ability to like get to the quarterback. Here's the thing that I can appreciate about a deal like this is I've seen these things work with Brad Holmes. I've seen a year of Charles Harris where it's like, oh yeah, guy can play, right? Like I've seen free agency, just taking a risk on a guy. Josh Reynolds, I'll pick him up off the waiver wire. That worked out. Like there's no, I know, Jeremy, people freaked out about the number.
Yeah.
People freaked out about the 10.5 million that he could make up to, right? And if Marcus Davenport earns $10.5 million this year, the Lions defense is top 10.
Right.
They've got they've got their money's worth if he hits 10.
Legitimately. And the thing that reassures me about this move, Jeremy, is that you get Davenport, who it's not like you're taking a risk on a Josh Pascal, right? A guy who has college tape.
Yeah.
Marcus Davenport played really freaking well in New Orleans. Yes. Yeah. Like, put whatever stock you want into PFF grades, and I don't always, take huge, I don't have a huge belief in him, but in the 2021 season where he had 42 pressures, had an 88.8 defensive grade, like pass rush grade of 82. Like again, this is why I like the deal. He has NFL tape that proves that he belongs in this league. And Jeremy, what deal did he get last year from Minnesota?
Oh, it was huge. It was
like a
1 year.
Yeah, it was like
12 million,
1 year.
12.5.
Yeah, it was
Double
even
this,
higher than this.
Yeah,
like double this on a prove it deal last year. What happened? He gets injured with the ankle, only plays 4 games, so he didn't prove it.
So he got
now
a lesser deal.
Another chance.
Yeah. No, I listen on Pride of Detroit Director, our premium newsletter. I quote unquote signed him to a 1 year, $7 million deal. So I don't feel bad about this at all. I do think at his best, Marcus Davenport is a potential double-digit sack guy. Now, he hasn't ever gotten there in his career, and he has struggled with injuries, and all those are legit complaints. Last year was his worst year, but he was in a new system, on a new team, and yes, he's But now he comes back to a defensive coordinator he's familiar with, a culture he's familiar with. That sort of stuff matters. Like, how many times during all these free agency previews did we say part of the reason the Lions are so conservative in free agency is they don't know if these guys are going to be a culture fit. They don't know if these guys are going to be Detroit Lions. Well, you take a guy like Marcus Davenport, there's no question that he's going to fit what the Lions want out of him. And I agree with you guys. Like, he brings a little bit more pass rush than some of the edge guys that they currently have opposite Aiden, but he's big, and I think actually he provides a little bit more in run defense than both of you are saying. Like, I think he's a very well-rounded player. Not an explosive guy, he's not. But that being said, like, if you want to go back and look at his RAS, it's pretty darn good. He's got a lot of good athletic traits.
It was like a 9.93 or so, I think. It was very high.
So I mean,
ultimate. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think this is a guy with an extremely high ceiling, and again, a 27-year-old to be 28 technically when the season starts. So you got youth, you got a cheap 1-year deal, $6.5 million for 1 year is not bad at all. And who knows, the Lions might add a void year on top of that, and it'll be like a $3 million cap hit. It's not a bank breaker. It's and to me, like, it's just like low cost, high upside. I'm totally in for deals like that. And this is what we need to get accustomed to these kind of deals. Like, this is what the Lions have. They did it with Alex Anzalone. They did it with Charles Harris. They did it with all these guys that they kind of like went 50-50 on. Sometimes it really worked out, and then they get to sign a big deal the next year. Sometimes it doesn't, and you're left with one of the Brashad Perriman. CJ Gardner-Johnson is a great example because it was almost the exact same price. Now Gardner-Johnson had a little bit more of a proven career in the NFL,
track record, yeah. But like, also, how many games did Davenport play last year? So like, I mean, they're almost akin to one another, right? Like,
yeah. So I don't know. I think people are freaking out a little bit too much about the cost, but it's fair to look at both these signings and be like, okay, all right, when is Brad Holmes just going to sign a dude and not go down this injury history thing where you're worried about an Emmanuel Mosley is another example where it didn't work out. So, again, it's like a 50-50 hit rate with these guys. So maybe one of these is going to work out, one of these won't. You kind of hope that you hit more on Carlton Davis because you spent both money and draft capital on it, but I don't know. I'm not feeling amazing, and I'm not feeling terrible.
On the other hand, like I get that on the injury side, but I do also think both these have the commonality still of what we've kind of discovered about the Detroit Lions, how they want to run their defense last year, because Marcus Davenport does fit what they want to do. They want to pressure the quarterback, make them make a mistake, and they want someone like Carlton Davis in the backfield to clean up that mistake when it happens. Like it shows at least the identity, the philosophy, and what they want to do more than anything. However, I also think they're coming here for the Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. That's right, Carlton Davis. If you're listening, Marcus Davenport, you're listening right now. Hi. But also, we should let you know about the jerky that fuels your Detroit Lions. Righteous Felon Craft Jerky sponsors this podcast. Righteous Felon Jerky and meat sticks are available to Lions players at the training facilities at Allen Park. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein. Each stick has 8 grams. Trust me, if it's good enough for the Lions, it's going to be good enough for you too. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania, using locally sourced, all-natural Black Angus beef, priding themselves on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors, such as my favorite, the Korean barbecue-inspired Soul Survivor. And the Habanero Escobar, a little more of a typical one, but still incredibly good. We're going to give you a promo code here. We're going fast because we've got a lot to do. POD15 at checkout. Use that at righteousfelon.com. You get 15% off your order, any order, no matter how big. You support us. You support Righteous Felon. You get meat for yourself. What's not to love? So you use the promo code POD15 at checkout at righteousfelon.com. We come back in the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Time to talk guards. Lions re-sign one, lose one. Question is, how much more of a need do they really have right now? And where do the Lions go from after day one in the tampering period, not start of free agency, actually the start of free agency? We'll discuss that next on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Hi, chat. We're not going to be we're not going to have a lot of time to chat here, at least in between breaks. Some of us are on a pitch clock, so we're going to jump right into segment two, and then we'll see who is sticking around afterwards, and we might have some time to chat with you about a few of these signings. But we're going to jump right back into our podcast. Pride to Detroit PODcast. Now it's time to talk guards here in the tampering period episode. The Lions ended up bringing Graham Glasgow back. I actually don't have the numbers up in front of me, Jeremy.
I got you.
Deal. Oh, thank you.
3 years, 20 million. And I don't have the guaranteed money because I am rate limited on Twitter.
Really?
I think was it 9.5?
9.5 sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I don't know. Go check Pride of Detroit.
Either way, it's great to have the streamer in command back here. We love Graham. He's been on our podcast a few times. Very happy to see it. Ryan, Jeremy, I think if the Lions were going to have one of the two guys, and we'll talk about the other one in a second, I think we had been arguing towards Graham because Graham does have the ability to play center. He proved himself last year that he had a very, very good potential with playing guard. He had good synergy with the rest of the line. He was asked to do a lot of different positions and to pitch in all over the place. I think he's proven more than enough that he deserves this new deal, and he's going to get 3 years on this as well, which is very good.
No, it's exciting. It was a great way to start the day. I think all of us kind of saw both this and the Jonah moves coming in general. Graham wanted to be back. Graham was happy to be here. Graham earned his deal by being the 8th best guard in the NFL last year, according to PFF grade. And I mean, he's a culture fit. He's a fit in terms of what they like to do. He's a better run blocker than pass protector, but he can do both pretty well. And like you said, he's an extremely versatile guy. And I think a lot, all offseason, we were kind of trying to project what it would cost for Graham Glasgow. And I think we all kind of landed in somewhere between 6 and 7 million. And what do you know, 3 years, 20 million, right in that range. I think the third year is a little bit surprising. I think a lot of us were thinking like 2 year, 13 million, something like that. But I'll take a potential third year, and we haven't seen the full breakdown of what the contract looks like. I think it's probably safe to say that third year is essentially an option where the Lions can choose to keep him or not, which is exactly what you want for a 31-year-old. You get 2 good years out of him, and then you see if you want a third out of him. So a no-brainer deal. And then, Ryan, I think to me the most exciting part about re-signing Graham today, especially early in the day, was watching the guard market play out and just seeing these guys get 16 million, 17 million, 20 million. And you're just sitting on your hands being like, all right, we got like a starting level, potential top 10 level guard for the next 3 years at, 6.75 or whatever it is a year. Like that's a pretty comfortable feeling.
Oh yeah, man, sign me up. Like, I think actually the Graham re-signing, even for as predictable as it was, and it seemed like it was just going to be a sure thing, having that like as a setup for the rest of the day where there was relatively little activity, right? And Lions Twitter was kind of losing their minds in the sense of like, oh, the Lions, are they ever going to do anything? Are they gonna... And then like, I think the thought in my head was, the Lions are set right now because they got ahead of the guard market. They got Graham Glasgow back in place. And guess what? They were able to watch in real time, starting back with the Dotson deal. Like, guys, we got to, and I know it's the Carolina Panthers, but Robert Hunt getting $100 million over 5 years is lunacy. Like, it's insane to me. And even the deal that Jonah got, and we're gonna get to that in a second. I just want to mention real quick about Graham and like probably one of the better stories, right? Again, like a guy who I know Dan Campbell usually picks out like the day one guys, right? And it's Decker who usually gets a lot of that shine, and it was Tracy Walker and like Grant. I mean, 2016, like the beginning of the Quinn Trisha era. Graham gets drafted and he's staying here in Detroit, and it's awesome because I feel, Jeremy, like there's a little bit of a hometown discount kind of baked into this, right? Like it feels like Graham likes playing here. Why would he go anywhere else? He's at home. You know what I mean? Like it, and usually I'm so against like hometown discounts and this, that, and the other thing, but like this just feels like the best marriage that could have happened at guard for the Lions.
And I mean, when the guy is like, I really wanted to come to Detroit because I wanted to play with some buds. Like, yeah, that's when you're going to get the hometown discount. When his main
Vibes,
motivation
man.
is just to hang out with
Vibes.
some of his old buddies.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's a massive culture fit. I think this was great for the Lions. You mentioned the money flying around the O-line positions right now, Ryan. And that means we do have to say farewell to Jonah Jackson. Again, I think we've all been hinting towards it. I know we were wondered if the Lions in season, we wondered if the Lions would be able to keep Jackson. Well, Jonah Jackson's price tag was $51 million for 3 years, 34 million of it guaranteed with the Los Angeles Rams. It's a huge pickup for the Rams, but I guess the question is Ryan, I've got two, sorry, Jeremy, I've got two questions and I'll get to the second one in a second. The first one is, damn on the money. Like, I don't think the Lions could have probably, would you have been okay if the Lions had spent similar money like that on Jonah Jackson?
Probably not. I mean, 17 million is definitely the high end of what I expected him to get. Mm-hmm. But yeah, around what I expected. I know, I can't remember, was it Dotson who got 16 million a year? And people were like, oh, there's no way Jonah gets that. And I'm like, wait and see. I was a little, but like, the 3 years to me makes it a little bit more palatable instead of a 4-year deal. And again, with only about half of that guaranteed, there's a chance that third year you're able to get out from underneath it. And so then you're talking about Jonah Jackson, a 2-year, like 34, 35, $36 million deal? Maybe, but I don't know. I've been going back and forth on Jonah all offseason because I do think he's a better player than Lions fans are giving him credit for. I also think he's not as injured as Lions fans seem to think. But that's a lot of money, and the Lions, at some point, they're going to need to try to get younger and cheaper on the offensive line, and they can't continue to plug in, top market deals for everyone on that offensive line, right? Like, Decker is currently among the highest paid left tackles. So, I mean, Frank Ragnow's among the highest paid centers. Your right tackle is about to be amongst the highest paid right tackles. And so eventually the Lions have had to make a decision where they were going to take a little bit of a hit and then try to get younger. Because I think we all agree guard is very, very much on the table for the NFL draft. The question is, and I think this is going to be your second part of your question, is like, what do the Lions do before then about left guard? And that's a very important question to me because I say it all the time. You do not want to go into the NFL draft having to draft a position, having to draft a starter. And the Lions aren't going to do that. They're going to sign a starting capable guard at some point in the next month. It might not be a huge deal. It might not be more than a 1-year patchwork deal, but they're going to get someone capable in there because I don't think Colby Sorsdal is ready. I don't think Coyote Awashika is a guy that they want to be potentially starting on day one of the 2025 or 2024 season. So I don't know. It's a mixed feeling. I'm happy for Jonah to be getting the bag, and you can see a couple Lions offensive linemen have already tweeted that they're really happy for him and think he deserves it. And so, it's a hit to the Lions roster, and I'm very curious as to how the Lions are going to fix it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think I came to terms with Jonah moving on like months ago.
Yeah. It's been headed in that direction.
It has been headed in that direction. I think one thing that's interesting though is the Rams got an up close and personal seat to a wild card loss, and they saw like what two really good guards could do.
Sure.
So they locked up Dotson, and they got the guy who kicked their ass in the wild card round. So it seems like they have a little bit of Dan Campbell sway to their team. But I'm with you, Jeremy. Like the Lions, now that Brad Holmes in a place where he's starting to try to cultivate depth a little bit with this roster because a lot of the starting positions are filled. The ones that are left over aren't going to be ones that they walk into the draft with. And I think that's the next thing I think we got to talk about, right? Like we want to talk a little bit about what we are hoping the Lions could get done on day 2 of the tampering period.
Let me ask the question again to you, because I guess the question is, will they be happy with a guard in free agency, or will it be in the draft? Will they look more long-term in the draft with someone like a Christian Haynes?
Again, Jeremy, I think it's a lot like what they did with Carlton Davis. Like they got a starter in him, but
Yep.
that doesn't deter them from
Doesn't take
investing.
CV off the board. Yeah.
It doesn't take maybe even two cornerback draft picks off the board. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be shocked if the Lions drafted two cornerbacks. I also, though, like the Lions did with cornerback, they went out and got Carlton Davis. I expect them to go get a guy to plug that spot, and you feel comfortable with it in training camp. Why not Laken Tomlinson? I'm going to throw that out as
Yeah.
a potential replacement. I mean, former guy. I mean, solid, a little bit decline in play, but like, do you want to break the bank, right? Like, do you want to spend big on a guard on a 1 year deal? Maybe, but if you think that you can get a starter in here, maybe in the third round, or maybe you draft a guy higher than that. Um, I mean, you have a contingency plan in place, and we talk about them all the time with this team, and that's how Brad Holmes really, that's how he gets business done. So I think there are a couple interesting names out there. I know Zeitler didn't sign with anybody yet.
Yep.
Um, I know trying to think Isaiah Wynn. I know he's still out there. John Simpson is another guy who people talked about and you talked about, Jeremy. But I think they ultimately, I don't know. Do they go veteran 1 year guy, or do they go, hey, fringe can make an NFL roster guy?
In that
I'm like
idea,
real cheap.
yeah, in an ideal world, I think it's a veteran dude, whether it is Tomlinson, Zietler. Zietler is kind of my ideal scenario. I still don't know if the Ravens are going to let him go, but especially coming off somehow his first Pro Bowl at 33 years old, and he's going to be 34 going this year, but like you sign him to like a 1 year, $8 million deal, throw a void year on there. So again, it's only like a $4 or $5 million hit. That to me is extremely palatable. I don't know if they can get it done, but that to me makes a ton of sense. Is just do the patchwork job. If the guard that you like is there when you're ready, go for it. Because the one thing now that maybe we aren't comfortable talking about is there's been a lot of talk about the Lions going up and getting their favorite guard in the draft. You just lost some ammunition to do that by losing your second, third round pick. So you'd probably have to spend another one of your 3 top 100 picks to do that. Are you willing to do that to a point where you'd only have 2 top 100 picks and then you're waiting all the way into the 5th round to pick again?
That doesn't seem like something Brad Holmes would do, who's never traded up in the draft before.
He's never got excited and decided to just leap at someone that he's like really excited to get. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It almost seems like an interesting situation from the standpoint of, if a guy comes in here who's a veteran, like, does he recognize that, like, hey, like a guy could get drafted and he could potentially beat me out, right? Like, I mean, you kind of more so think about this when you're talking about like backup quarterbacks, right? Like you get to the end of free agency and it's like, okay, like who are the teams that are probably going to draft a young guy, and like where's a place I can go where I can like truly be a backup and maybe be a guy who gets a chance to step in. Like that almost kind of seems like the guard conundrum with Detroit now. Like Jonah's out. I don't think that there's anybody who feels totally comfortable with Sorsdal or Awashika starting. So it almost seems like they have to do something before they go into the draft with their pants down.
Yeah. Well, I think we will wait and see. We've got plenty more to come here during the week. It is a floating week. We're going to be jumping. I don't know how many more times we'll jump on this week. Me, Jeremy, or Ryan. We'll
As
be
needed.
in and out as needed. I know Morgan's been getting some reps, and thank you, Morgan, getting in while I was sick. And then I know next week, Jeremy, you're off for a little bit. So for the most of free agency, we're going to be touch and go here on PODcast, which is why you should be subscribed on Spotify, on iTunes, or wherever you get podcasts. It is a liberated form, and it means that whatever podcast platform you like, you can find us on there. Platform free and out in the world. All right, we're getting out of here for now. For myself, I'm Chris Perfett. For Jeremy Reisman, for Ryan Matthews, we'll see you Starside.
Recording stopped.
All right, we're good.
All right, we'll hang out a little bit with our live audience here, except for Ryan. He's got to jump, but we'll be seeing more of him this week, I'm sure.
I do. I technically said I'd be done at 9:10, so I have 3 minutes.
Nice.
Oh, you told me 9:05, so I was like
yeah,
panicking when I saw we went over.
No, I'm sorry, but no, I meant to say 9:10. I'll let you guys interact with chat, but I want to ask you like, who's the like big splash guy that you would love to see the Lions if I
Still
don't
out
think it's
there?
going
Oh
to
my
happen, right?
God.
But like if the Lions could make a splash, who would be your guy?
I don't know
Who's
how many
still out
splash.
there?
I think the only real splash guy left is Danielle Hunter, and I'm not even gonna bother thinking about that. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either, but I guess like you would consider it a splash. Like maybe like Cam Sutton level splash.
Well, listen, the interest in DJ Reader is certainly
Mhm.
interesting, right? I
Yes.
think that's the one position that I think they have to get out of free agency that they haven't touched yet
Mm-hmm.
is defensive tackle, and DJ Reader is a perfect fit.
And guard, I guess technically too, right?
I guess that's true. Yes. So like, yeah, I'm cool with the interest there. I hope the Lions can beat out the other guys, but listen, like that's also going to cost them a pretty penny. PFF, is and Spielberger's been killing it with his projections. 3 years, $15.25 million per year. So 45 a year, or sorry, 45 total value on a 3-year deal. It's expensive.
Yeah. It almost seems like in order for that to happen, that they would have to probably do some stuff with Carlton's deal for sure.
Yeah.
If they're gonna make like, oh yeah, but like I think that would not be too far behind.
Yeah.
Do you have a name out there, Chris?
I'm like furiously going around trying to remember because once football season's over, I dump all of the stats and stuff out of my head just because my brain is bad.
All the tabs get closed.
I would not mind, since we're talking DT. I don't know what his value would be right now, and that's kind of what I was looking up there for. But I think Sheldon Rankins is available.
I believe you're right. Yeah. He'd be a cheaper deal, and that he was kind of on my short list. I think he was the guy that I added in the newsletter as well.
Cheaper deal, still racked up 6 sacks and a fumble recovery touchdown last year.
Yeah.
So definitely someone who I think I would be very interested in seeing. And I think he is a New Orleans guy, formerly of the New Orleans Saints as of from 2016 to 2020. Once again, familiar to the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
That seems like yeah, that's a good call, Chris. I think that could happen, like maybe not tomorrow, maybe the day after.
Yeah, it's this whole, because it's still not the league new year, right? That's not until
Wednesday
the
and
13th.
4 p.m. Yep.
Yeah.
I just love how the tampering period just does not seem to care at all at this point.
My gosh, man.
Nothing's official though until Wednesday. Tell what's Lutz? Was that the kicker who already backtracked?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You agreed to a deal and got out?
Yep. Then decided,
Oh,
nope,
wow.
I'm coming back.
Hmm.
Shout out to
The
kickers.
whole 11th hour. How about shout out to former Lions in the first day of free agency?
Former Lions running backs.
Former
DeAndre
Lions running
Swift
backs that are in the
getting-
NFC North. Interesting
DeAndre
choice.
Swift and Amir Abdullah. Yeah, no, very interesting for the Vikings. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to talk about the Vikings too much, just considering what we've been dealing with them. But Kirk Cousins to the Falcons, man, that's exciting.
Florio was right.
Don't frame it like that. No, it was an active day for the NFC North. It was kind of wild.
Yeah,
those teams are going to look a lot different, and I'm writing on it for tomorrow morning. But I think you have to say the Packers probably got worse. They upgraded at safety, but they downgraded at running back. They downgraded significantly so far at offensive line.
yeah,
with
they
Bakhtiari.
got Josh Jacobs, and then Aaron Jones immediately pieces out.
Yeah,
Like that's rough.
Jeremy is also like the biggest Aaron Jones fan. I think I know.
What do you mean?
You love Aaron Jones.
You're talking about a running back, first of all, so that clearly is not true.
By the way, shout out to running backs. 8 of them getting signed and paid very well. The Saquon, like even if you were of the mind, it was like, oh, it's okay to sign them, but just don't pay them a lot of money. Saquon Barkley got broken off.
What do you get? 12 million or something?
No, I think
It was
it's
more
like
than that?
it.
3 years,
26 million guaranteed is averaging at about just south of 16 million a year.
Wild.
Yeah. And I think didn't Tony Pollard got signed somewhere too?
Yeah.
Yeah, he signed with the Titans.
Yeah, who signed? I think another big name signed with the Buccaneers.
By the way, breaking as our chat is saying,
Chase Edmonds.
Aaron Jones or the Vikings are interested in Aaron Jones.
That makes sense.
So now my favorite player is going to my favorite team.
I know, man.
And he's going to have Jaron, and he's a pass catching running back who needs Jaron Hall to throw to him.
Here's the thing: as someone who has edited on paper for as long as I have, I know the players that Jeremy likes.
He's good. Listen, Aaron Jones is good. All right.
See, I know. I know you love Aaron Jones, but like, I think on paper, no pun intended, the fact that you are taking that cap hit for Aaron Jones to then also pay Josh Jacobs seems like, what are we doing, Basil? Like
that's a lot of money for, I mean, I actually like Josh Jacobs a lot, but I don't think he's Aaron Jones, and don't think he's worth $12 million a year either.
Dude, if I were the Packers, I would have just drafted Jahmyr Gibbs instead.
All right.
Question from Karen Linwu. What are the chances Rodgers makes the Jets sign Bakhtiari?
Like 100%?
Like he's already in New York?
He's already there?
What's his name? The backup Packers quarterback that isn't in the league anymore, but he's like being kind of an influencer now. I can't remember his Kurt Benkert.
Wilson?
Kurt Benkert. He tweeted out like sources the Jets are interested in Bakhtiari. I couldn't tell, like I don't know him well enough if he's just joking or if he's like legitimately trying to report something, but yeah, that's where he's going.
Well, if he ends up being right, then he was reporting something.
Right. Exactly.
If he was wrong, he was just poking fun.
Yeah.
That's how it works, huh?
Could you guys loan me $10,000 that I can bet on Derrick Henry's going to sign with the Baltimore Ravens? Like that's just going to happen, right? Like,
can I tell you something, Ryan, regarding betting? This is completely unrelated to what we're talking about.
Okay.
I know you got to leave soon.
Now 5 minutes ago.
We had a guy on the radio show yesterday. I had never heard of this guy. It was one of the older gentlemen I was working with knew this guy who like apparently always gave out winners for the Oscars. And like he just came on. It was a very simple like on-air appearance. He didn't explain anything. He just ran through all the categories very quickly, just named who was going to win them and got off. And I am pretty sure like I doubted it, but then I saw something like there was a moment where I was like, I really want to know how I can bet the Oscars because this guy sounds like he knows. I'm pretty sure he hit on like all but 2 categories last night. And I was just sitting there being like, I could have made money. I could have been doing it.
I wonder how you get really good at that.
He's got to have sources. This guy has to be like some pseudonym guy who just knows a guy who knows who's going to win these.
Yeah. Oh,
the Oscars aren't real.
The Oscars aren't real.
They're like birds.
Fuck up.
Can I? One last quick thing before I get out of here. Wide receiver. Not that I'm expecting the Lions to like go crazy or anything, right? But I think we're all keeping our eyes on Josh Reynolds at least, at a minimum. And Gabe Davis signs a 3-year, $39 million deal. I don't know how like aware you guys are of Gabe Davis, but like didn't have the best year last year. Like we're talking like Josh Reynolds-esque numbers.
Yeah.
I wonder how much Josh Reynolds is worth.
Not that much.
I'm not saying that much, right? Because there's a difference between, the fact that, Gabe Davis is 25, right? So he's younger and Josh Reynolds is older, right?
29.
I'm just saying, I don't know. What do you think?
I'm just saying Equanimous St. Brown is currently a free agent.
Don't give up on Josh Reynolds.
No, Josh will come back.
No, but I'm more about the memes. I'm more about, hey, we could have both St. Brown brothers here.
I say sign Josh Reynolds, sign Equanimous, and then trade both for T. Higgins instead of the 29th overall pick.
I did not ever think we would get to a point in our lives where T. Higgins would be this massively valued commodity. I never thought T. Higgins would be that guy that teams are giving up this kind of capital.
No hate on T. Higgins because I think he's good,
None,
and maybe
none.
even
He's earned it. He's
maybe
earned
even
everything.
a potential number one. But the Lions trading for T. Higgins is absolutely insanity. Their first round pick, and then also handing him the bag, which they'd have to do. What? What are we doing here?
Well, what are we doing?
Are we
We're
saying
playing Matt Millen fantasies?
Are we saying goodbye to Amon-Ra St. Brown? Like what's happening?
Stop fetishizing the wide receiver position for the Lions. Stop. Like, we get it. The Lions already moved up and got Jameson Williams. Stop.
Yeah, we got JMO, we got St. Brown, who
Right.
still needs the extension. Like, we're good. We're groovy. We're groovy here.
I mean, they can spend the 29th pick on a wide receiver if they want in the
I'm
draft.
totally cool with it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
get a
sure.
cost-controlled
You can never go
guy
wrong with
for
it.
4 or 5 years. That's great.
It's almost as good as cost-controlled quarterbacks.
Would you? Well, hold on. Would you rhymes with Minshew, kind of. So,
Okay.
what about that deal?
What did he get?
What about Jacoby Brissett?
He just went to the Patriots like right before we went live, right?
Return to the Patriots.
I
Yeah,
didn't see the deal.
Yeah, I love that because that feels like a fit.
that
like
feels like a
Jacoby
fit to Robert
Brissett.
Kraft.
Is he going to be their starter?
He might be.
Once again, 6 years after the fact, the Jacoby Brissett era starts again. How you got to imagine Brissett and Jimmy G owe like massive amounts of money to the commissioner for suspending Tom Brady. They both got a good amount of pub after a few games filling in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, it seems like a retired former linebacker would just love a veteran quarterback running their offense. Like, they're like, Mac Jones, you can get the hell out of here. Like,
That trade
go away to Jacksonville.
I
Sorry.
still don't understand that trade for the Jaguars.
Be-
I know CJ Beathard gets hurt a lot, but
Yeah,
there's a ton of guys out there you could have just picked off the street for a couple mil.
yes. And Jeremy, I'm so mad to admit that you pointing out Benjamin Albright's reporting on the dry market for Justin Fields. But
Nothing. Like no even rumors at this point. Nothing.
like at this point, it doesn't even seem like it's going to be a day 2 pick.
The Bears have really screwed themselves because I feel like they've tipped their hand a little bit. And everyone knows they can just let them sit and
I'd love
lose
for them
value
to.
on Justin
I'd
Fields.
love for them to change course now. We're like, oh, there's no market on Justin Field. Fine, we're gonna keep him.
I don't know if Ryan, you still believe this, but I am legitimately no sarcasm, anything. I am really hoping the Bears pass on Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Like
I would expect you to say that.
Oh, wait. Chris, you want the
I
Bears
don't.
to pat?
I do not want to see Caleb Williams twice a year. I do not want to see Caleb Williams twice a year.
I'm not sold on him being better than Justin Fields.
He is infinitely so, and I'm not even going to
Infinitely
entertain. I'm not even going to entertain the notion, man. Like I know who I watch at USC, and like there is a level of improvisation that Caleb Williams does, and it's going to be continually obscured this draft season as everyone picks apart their game and gets bored. And to be honest, as I said on Twitter, half of football Twitter and commentators seem to want to call him names because he paints his nails and cries with his mother. But
No,
like,
it's nothing about that. It's the fact that the things that he was able to do in college, I don't see that happening on a consistent basis in the NFL.
well, he also played with zero offensive line at USC, so a lot of that stuff, like,
So welcome to the Chicago Bears with an awesome offensive line.
I'm just saying, like,
and a Vikings
with the
defense
proper,
that doesn't get after quarterbacks.
with a proper investment, like Caleb Williams' upside is like everyone's very high on him for a reason. Like if the Bears stick with Justin Fields, the people in Chicago will consider it a victory because they're weird. But like, I remember listening to some audio of a podcast where they had Diana Rossini on. It was a Chicago Bears podcast. These guys had Diana Rossini on, and they mentioned her. Hey, there's some Bears fans who think that we should keep Justin Fields. Rossini first laughed and then looked terrified at the idea that these guys were serious, that there was such an idea that these people existed. Like, the rest of the league has none of the stock on Justin Fields that I think we in the NFC North do, and especially Lions fans who keep telling me, well, he beat the Lions a lot. Cool. He beat the Lions a lot. That doesn't make him good. Mitch Trubisky beat the Lions a lot too.
How conflicted were you during the Notre Dame USC game this year, Chris?
Not really. No, I'm fully on USC. It's more like I didn't want to hear it from my dad.
Mm.
I don't have Notre Dame allegiances anymore. That was decided to be given up completely when I put in my papers for USC.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to do this house divided stuff.
Ryan, are you dodging your family at this point?
Kind of. Like I do that every day. All right. I'll get going.
That wasn't me trying to kick you out. I was trying to help you.
No, you're looking out for me. My big bummer from free agency day one was Chidobe getting picked up on like a relatively affordable deal.
Yeah, that one felt like
3 years, 36.
Yeah,
which feels like you probably pay a little bit more, and that's a little bit more than what Cam Sutton got last year.
Yeah, it was a Cam Sutton deal, and they're kind of the same level corners. I think some people are a little bit higher on Chidobe, but like I think if you would have compared the excitement last year to getting Cam Sutton to the excitement of potentially signing Chidobe this year, probably wouldn't have been about even.
Yeah, that's fair. But all right,
buddy.
Being a deadbeat. See you guys.
Bye.
Later, Ryan. We'll still stick around here. I have a bunch of people to thank, which is what I'm going to do.
I think Chris believes in Caleb Williams a little bit too much with love for USC. Listen, I believed in Amon-Ra St. Brown a lot because of USC too. Like, I think that sometimes we get a little too close to our things, and I will fully admit I'm too close to USC sometimes, but I know a lot of you are really too close to Big Ten football in the NFC North as well. So I'm presenting a counter argument to a lot of the Ohio State Justin Fields. You've seen Justin Fields, you know who we are. I know a lot of you have not been staying up to watch Pac-12 football. I have. I see what the Caleb Williams do. You can pull up the tapes and say, oh, you should hit the crosser. But you don't know that Caleb Williams is doing that on design play and the right guard is getting trucked, and that's happening all the time. Near the halfway point in the year, USC's offense was just Caleb Williams. Some of that's not potable to the NFL. But some of that is the improvisation that allowed someone like Patrick Mahomes to shine in the NFL. Now, I don't expect the Bears to get his development right, and if he fails, it will be because of that, but it won't be because of a lack of talent. Right now, he is the best quarterback prospect, period. End of discussion. I don't want to hear about Jaden Daniels. I don't want to hear about Drake May. No one is close to him, period. No asterisk, none whatsoever. I swear to God, though. Like, I swear to God, because we get bored. You know we get bored, Jeremy. We get bored as hell. And the amount of people who just want to pick holes in his games is insane, because there are those holes just don't. You will find infinitely more holes in Drake May's game or in Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels gets snapped in half, but like a twig. I'm done. Let's thank
Are you?
People.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, please don't throw fake news in the chat. I know you guys are joking, but I saw like, someone who got traded. Don't do that to people. Anyways, let me run through a bunch of alerts here. We'll get to some of your questions and things like that. I don't want to stay too long because it's been a long day. I've been tied to this chair since whenever the Graham signing happened at like 8 in the morning. So 13 hours.
I might have played way too much of a particular Switch game, and I kind of want to take a little bit of a nap too. My eyes hurt, so. Make some dinner. But anyway, yeah, let's. Yeah. I do want to chat with people, but let's thank some people first.
Yep. Justin saying thank you for the 27 months. It's 3 Twitch babies. Appreciate your support, buddy. Shmeven, 12 months, a full year subscribed to us over on Twitch. Troy Barnes, 40 months subscribed to the channel. Says, let's do this. Bejesus, 12 months. Full year subscribed to the channel. Krolik, 34 months, says, let's go POD. No decaf, 40 months, says 40 packs of Righteous Felon craft jerky. It's the jerky that fuels your... the jerky that fuels your... that fuels your jerky fuels your... Okay. There's a reason why I tripped over that. Okay.
No, I know. Partly was to do that, partly because like I've felt kind of schizophrenic and my brain dying this week. So I felt like just playing it up. I'm sorry.
It's fine. State Nate, 39 months subscribed to the channel. Lion's Blood, 35 months, says Brad Cookin. We got a fan. I've seen a lot of tepid responses, so it's good to see that there's some people out there that are feeling optimistic. Not that you have to. You can be concerned. That's fine. Brad Holmes hasn't been perfect in free agency. Far from it. JP is me. 21 months subscribed to the channel. Says just had a baby on Friday. Hey, JP is me. Congratulations. Says can't believe that spoiled Lions fan has never seen them lose. They've always been Super Bowl contenders since your baby has been born. Entire life Super Bowl contenders. That's crazy. Sination. They were 4 months subscribed to the channel. Says how would y'all feel about bringing back Evan Brown for open guard spot? That's a tricky one because to me, he's a little bit more of a center. And if he's playing guard, I'd rather him be a reserve. Like, I don't know. I'd rather have Laken Tomlinson, to be honest. Evan Brown wasn't that good in Seattle last year either. I don't know. I'm lukewarm on that idea. But it is kind of what I expect, like in terms of like the level of talent that I expect the Lions to sign. I think it's a half step up from Evan Brown. So I think you're on the right track. I just hope the bar's a little bit higher. Infrangible, 11 months subscribed to the channel, says love the day one moves. All right, there we go. We got more people on board. Steel Lion, 14 months, says working on Twitch baby number 2. Hey, we're about halfway there. We're beyond halfway there.
Oh,
That's right. John Johnson, not the former Rams safety, who I think the Lions should maybe consider signing if they can't get Quandre Diggs. John Johnson, 52, 8 months subscribed to the channel, says, let's go Brad Holmes and Brad we trust. Key Rock, 11 months subscribed to the channel, says, loving the Kool-Aid. Captain James Kirk, 100 bits, says 3 days ago, everyone understood that free agency is not the long-term plan to continue to develop this team. As soon as free agency starts, way too many people panicking that the Lions aren't solving the entire team opportunities on day one. Well said, Captain James Kirk. I think the problem again was I think we all have to agree right here, right now. Let's not
right now.
Let's not get too wrapped up in NFL Combine rumors, because I think generally speaking, they're BS.
Yes, they are. The big thing too is also how many years are we going to have to do this, Jeremy, where we have to say like they're not going to just build this team in free agency? Like a lot of rosters get turned over in free agency, but they're not going to be your top pieces usually.
And as someone pointed out on Twitter, and it was something I was thinking of at the time, how many moves did the Chiefs make today? How many moves did the 49ers make today? How many moves did the Ravens make today? It feels like quite few. Like the top teams in the NFL are being relatively quiet other than re-signing their own dudes, which is exactly what the Lions want to do. As a great devil once said, RELAX. Relax. Don't conjure him. Why would you do that?
He's not in your division anymore. He can't. You said you stopped caring about it. You were the one who said you stopped caring about it. That means I can bring it up.
No, that's not what that means.
Okay.
That means we can't, that we don't
then
need
you
to talk
still
about
care.
him at all.
Then you still care.
No, the reason I said I loved him being with the Jets, he's not going to cross our ecosystem anymore.
Oh, he always crosses our ecosystem. Are you kidding me?
Well, he does when you bring him up.
No, he's across the NFL ecosystem. I'm not the one. I'm not the. You're acting like I'm the only one bringing him up.
No, you are in.
Do you have more people to thank?
I sure do. Loveline69, 13 months subscribed to the channel, says, giving my wife some Brad Holmes love tonight. It doesn't get everyone excited, but I'm filling holes that need to be. Wow.
Okay.
You know what?
Is that Nick the Greek?
I don't know what I expected out of Loveline69, but you caught me off guard. I was reading that halfway and oh
my God, you still have a lot to go.
Robin Dyke, thank you for the 21 month subscribe channel. Says day one, let's see it play out before we freak out. Also, words of wisdom there. Captain James Kirk, another 100 bits, says, any thoughts on how Davis is significantly better in man, but Sutton is way better in zone per PFF? Does it seem contradictory for them to potentially be CB1 and 2? Yeah, honestly, a little bit. No question. I think we're not going to look particularly friendly upon the Cam Sutton signing. I hope he can turn it around, but like I said on the podcast, I think the Lions are probably going to pivot towards back being more of a man team, and that's going to mean Cam Sutton is not going to be in his bag. He's not going to be in his comfort zone. It doesn't mean he can't do it. It doesn't mean he can't get better at it, but I almost feel like they signed Cam Sutton thinking they were going to be a more zone-heavy team, and then when they couldn't do it last year and they struggled a little bit, and they're like, okay, maybe a little bit more man in our future and get a little more aggressive. So I think it's a good thing to point out, Cam James Kirk. Honestly, I think you're onto something there. Constrictor, 38 months, says, let's go Brad Holmes. Keep it rolling. Wizard 70, 36 months. 3-year anniversary. And my 4th Twitch, baby. Let's go. You're double a dip in there. Double. Alien Vivitor. Oh, my God, we do have a ton left. 36 months. Also 3 years. So 3 years, what a ride. What happened in 3 years? Got a bunch of 3 years. Your boy Maroc, 26 months, says, thanks for all the reporting on a busy day one. Hey, that's what we're here for. It's our jobs. Karen, 20 months subscribed channel, says, best of luck to Jonah. For sure. Good luck for him. Speaking of Jonah, Cordy Aaron, 51 months, says 51 months for the 51 million Jonah Jackson got. I think he's one of those guys that we're going to be proud of, that he went somewhere else. I think he's going to make another team really happy, and I don't think the Lions necessarily need to have any regrets there. It's just a matter of what they're going to do in the interim. Das Gibb, 29 months subscribed. Caitlin Rose, 7 months subscribed to the channel, says, when should we expect some players to get extended? Right after free agency slows down, or maybe after the draft? It's a great question, Caitlin, and I have no idea.
None whatsoever.
Because, I mean, the only thing I can say is that obviously they've been working to get a St. Brown deal done. We know that as much. But the thing is, Brad Holmes has gotten those sort of deals done all over the map. He's gotten them done in May. He's gotten them done in April. He's gotten them done in August. He's gotten them done in the middle of the season. And so there isn't a deadline for any of those sort of things. And Brad Holmes was even asked, like, there was a roster bonus that Jared Goff was due. Is that going to be like a soft deadline for you? And he's like, no, we haven't really thought about it. We don't really think about that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so there's really no urgency. Like, the only reason there would be urgency is if they're over the cap, they would maybe want to extend Jared Goff as a way of lowering his cap this year. Or if they find themselves with a lot of cap room, then they can do it with, they can extend Amon-Ra, which is going to increase his cap hit this year. So I think there's no harm in waiting. And I think part of the reason they might be waiting is just to see where their salary cap is right now and see how they may need to adjust it. Brett, thank you for following over on YouTube. Captain James Kirk, 10-bit, says, so Graham is the Aaron Rodgers of the Lions, just wants to play with his friends.
Well, he's not recommending more friends to play with the team, so no.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he's not like, all right, I know all these guys in Denver. You guys are gonna go sign him.
Speaking of former Denver, do you see how much? And this might be useful towards one thing. Do you see how much money Noah Fant got?
Nope.
I think it's something like $11 million a year or something. Like, hold on, let me find it. My point is that I saw, I think, who was it? I think it was John talking about, like, oh, aren't you glad you have where is it? Fan. Sorry. I know we're like extending all these other things, but these are other topics I've been wanting to do. Where was it? Where'd it go? Hold on. Let me check. You keep reading. I'll get Noah Fant's thing.
Okay.
Sorry.
How did Colby Parkinson get 3 years, $22.5 million, says John? Is that what you're talking about?
No, here we are. Noah Fant, 2 years, $21 million deal for a tight end.
That doesn't seem that crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
But also Noah Fant hasn't done anything.
Like a crap.
But Noah Fant hasn't done anything.
That's not true. What?
He's been very talented, but like keeps getting thrown to different systems where he's just not used. But he was included as part of that Russell Wilson deal, so I mean, like, shit, people value him. Anyway, go
back-to-back
on.
670-yard seasons.
Anyway,
He's all right. Where was I? Arcox, thank you for the tier 1 subscriber. First-time subscriber. Love to see it. Man, we're getting pretty close to 400 again, which is great for our off-season numbers. JF Trip, 13-month subscribed to the channel. Applejacks, thank you for following us on YouTube. You may have noticed about 17 minutes ago, I jumped and got scared because Joshua Mercer dropped 5 gifted subs, and it's been a very long time since that has made me jump. Because honestly, that alert doesn't go up. We don't get a lot of gifted sub bombs, and I'm not complaining about it. It just hasn't happened in a while. Line Suffer, 15-month subscribe to the channel, says decent free agent so far, but I wish they hadn't given up that 3rd round pick. Could have gotten Zinter there. Yeah. Let's see it all play out. But I get, and I think it was John who said it. Like, Brad Holmes has gotten so good at the draft that pick 91 overall seems like a guaranteed high-end starter now.
I think also those 6 rounders will be interesting ammunition. He gives himself ammunition for like day 2 and 3 for the next couple of years as well with those 6 rounders.
Yeah.
I'm
not a fan of
anyway,
late round picks. Personally.
No, but I'm just saying they're just, you know what we think about late round picks. They're fodder.
Yeah.
That's why you give them up as ammo.
Right.
Anyway.
Nick
the Greek.
Yep, 100 bits says the Notre Dame Fighting Irish confirmed that Chris is 50% Shamrock. True or false?
This is where, once again, I have to reiterate, my dad went to Notre Dame and my mother went to St. Mary's in South Bend in the years prior to Notre Dame being co-ed. So yes, I did grow up watching a lot of Notre Dame football. I did not care about Michigan or Ohio State or any of this stuff. And then I got my undergrad had no football. My graduate school was USC. So I got to go and had a real one. And I just told my dad then, don't bother me about the Notre Dame games. I ain't watching that shit. Fight on. I think we've got 3 more.
We do. Kneecapper. Thank you for the 12 months full year subscribe to the channel. Who was? Oh man, I missed it.
Admiral Max Bar, a new subscriber.
Yeah, is he someone subscribed for 3 years in advance or 3 months in advance?
Oh, might be.
Who did that?
I don't know.
I want to see if I can scroll up and find it.
And then Snelly Belly 26 been with us for 7 months.
There you go. Whoever it was, it does for some reason on the mini feed it doesn't show when you do that, but I saw it on the Twitch chat. And also Michael Getz and Kevin Jeffrey over on YouTube. Thank you for the follows. But yes, we are caught up, which means I will answer 1 or 2 questions, and then I would like to get out of here because.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about like the Kirk Cousins thing a little bit, but yeah, that's why I was.
Oh, wait, sorry. I thought
Chris
Ryan
went to
Matthews
USC. That explains all. Well, yeah. What's up?
Because Ryan said something right before he left about Derrick Henry going to the Ravens. Josina Anderson just tweeted, "I'm told there's interest in both sides between the Ravens and Derrick Henry.
Oh no,
an agreement still has to be reached, but we'll see."
Just please. So someone was saying Chris went to USC. That explains all the Caleb talk. Like, I don't do it for every USC guy. I was high on Amon-Ra St. Brown too. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like you guys talk about JJ McCarthy sometimes. Anyway, how do you feel about Kirk Cousins leaving the division? Is that good or a bad thing? I mean, in the short term, it's obviously good. I don't know what's the plan is for the Vikings are right now, and I don't know what the market is out there for guys they can get. And I don't think the Bears, if they do move on from Justin Fields, they trade him in division.
No, I think they're just going to draft a guy. I would not be surprised to see the Vikings.
But they're outside of the prime. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they moved up though. Like they're at 11.
They're outside of that prime crop though, so like, I don't think they'll get May, Daniels, or Williams.
Probably not. JJ McCarthy, unless they trade up, they could very well trade up. Maybe the Patriots are happy with Jacoby Brissett. Trade up with them.
That would be a tough one to say that they're happy with Jacoby Brissett, but maybe. I don't think they will though. I think that's a contingency plan there.
Probably.
That's what I mean. Like there's so many, because the Commanders are absolutely going to draft a quarterback too. I don't know. Like either they will take a reach on someone like JJ McCarthy for elite handoffs and nothing else, or they will.
See, you're out of control with your quarterback takes right now.
Or
out of control.
it will just be a lean year for them, and they'll just have to eat it. I don't, but like, I'm trying to think who else is out there on the market they could even get right now. Because the big piece was Russell Wilson. The big piece moving was Russell Wilson to that. And I mean, not that Russell Wilson's good, but I know in a lot of conversations it was, could Russell Wilson be the one to replace Kirk Cousins in Minnesota? And then we saw Russ go to the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't know with Kirk. To me, I've been saying it on this podcast for 2 years running. I think the Vikings should have been hitting the reset button for years now, and so I think this is maybe the first step that they actually are starting to do that. And it's kind of like a half reset because obviously they've spent on a couple of big edge players. They spent on a linebacker today. Now, part of the reason they're able to spend all that is because they're very clearly moving on from Danielle Hunter. But it like I'll say it like I did last year. Like the Vikings are very much poised to be in last place in the division this year, and it's kind of good for them. Like they need to like
they
stop
need to
trying to
compete, reset a little bit. Yeah,
stop trying to compete with a half-baked roster. Their defensive roster was really, really bad last year, and it got propped up by a good defensive coordinator. Their offensive line needs a lot of work. I don't know what they're going to do at running back. I guess maybe they're going to go for Aaron Jones, but that seems like a
they're going to be a run-heavy team. Like, what can you really? I don't.
They got great wide receivers, but now who's going to throw them the football?
Yeah, you can't. I'm sorry, like Addison and Jefferson are fantastic, but I don't think you can subsist on a diet of Jaren Hall for an entire year, and I don't expect to see Jaren Hall was a rookie last year, right?
Probably. I don't even know who he is. He's their quarterback.
We played him, Jeremy, last year.
Did we? I don't think we did.
Yes. Or he might have got pulled in between games that the Lions played the Vikings. I can't remember, but
he was their 5th round pick.
I know he was a late pick. He was like BYU, but was it? Yes, he was a rookie last year. Okay,
he did not play.
So like, I cannot imagine him turning into their starter.
No, that's not the plan. I mean, they tried to re-sign Kirk Cousins. Just I don't know. I was shocked he got a 4-year deal. That's crazy to me.
Maybe a little bit. It feels like the Falcons were a little bit desperate for a quarterback too, but I think we know this with guys like Jared Goff too. And I'm not saying the two, like they both fall into that. No team wants to just constantly like bat and kick and be suck for 10 years until their massive, great Patrick Mahomes guy comes along, and then you might not be able to get him anyway in the draft. Like you have to accept that there are quarterbacks that you can be serviceable with. And Kirk Cousins, with all those weapons in Atlanta, I think you see like what they want to do there.
Yeah. I mean, they're making a run here, which I don't know. Did last division? Year, were they, but that's the thing. Like you don't just make a run to win the division. Does this make them NFC competitors now?
Well, I guess the question is like even in that division,
honestly,
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I was going to say I still think the Bucs are better.
Yeah, and they're bringing back Baker Mayfield, which is huge for them.
Yeah,
huge for them. Like and on a very friendly deal for the Buccaneers.
That's what I was going to say. I am not
very friendly deal.
As much as I think that Kirk Cousins is underrated, I'm not sure that Baker Mayfield is that much behind him in terms of like tiers.
I think Goff. I mean, not Goff. I think Mayfield and Cousins they inhabit the same atmosphere. Yes.
In particular, him coming off an Achilles, right? Like, I know he's not a guy that lives off his mobility very much. Like him tearing an Achilles is not the same as a cornerback who is running 90% of the time. It's not the same thing, but I don't know. To me, if I was just a team that is looking to maybe make a short-term run, I think I might rather have Baker Mayfield on a $30 million a year deal than Kirk Cousins on a 45 or whatever it was.
And as much as I have love for some of the weapons and what they could be in Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, like if the Bucs bring back Mike Evans and they have Godwin and maybe add another weapon somewhere, like they'll be more than fine on an offense.
Yeah.
Like they're losing a few pieces on defense, but every team does. They're going to make moves too. It's early for the Buccaneers as well. So
yeah, they did sign Mike Evans. I didn't catch you say.
oh, they did get it. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was just testing free agency. Okay.
No, they got him like a 2-year, $21 million or something. It was originally reported as a $26 million a year deal, but I think it's ended up being like 21.
One of my coworkers kind of made the point that Mike Evans should not be allowed to wear any other jersey except a Buccaneers jersey. It just makes too much sense. Him with the Bucks just feels right for some reason.
It's true with a lot of, like, we were talking on a previous podcast, like, it feels like the Eagles have a bunch of those lifers that never left.
Yep.
Obviously, Kelsey, Brandon Cox retired.
God,
Brandon
that is a
Graham re-signed there. Like,
Yeah.
there's just these guys that 34,
Yeah.
35, 36. That's kind of why I feel like Phillies.
This is going to be his
runs
10th
over.
season. This is going to be Mike Evans'
Fletcher
10th
Cox
season with the Buccaneers. His 10th season. Speaking of that too, like, I am curious how long the Eagles can keep this up with losing a couple of their, like, this is the core of those teams. That
They
won
didn't
the
keep it up
NFC
last
titles in
year.
the Super Bowl. Yeah, no, I know, but still, like, I mean, that was more because they just made some terrible decisions at the coaching staff. But like, now you're losing Kelsey and Cox. I mean, we should know this as Lions fans. Like, those are your trenches.
Yeah,
that's where you've developed your identity of the team. The Lions and the Eagles have a lot of similar identity in that regard, and much like Frank Ragnow, they just lost their Ragnow. That's who Kelsey was.
Yeah.
Tough, man. It's tough.
Don't feel bad for him at all.
No,
They got Saquon though, right? That's where he went.
they did. Yeah. Sirianni, I think, is on the hot seat. They don't really have a lot of patience in the Eagles organization. Doug Peterson had like a year and a half after his Super Bowl victory, and they kicked him to the curb. They don't have patience. Anyway, this has been a bit of a frenzy today.
That's why they call it the free agent frenzy.
Let's call it a free agency.
Sierra, thank you for subscribing over on YouTube.
Oh yeah. We got time for a couple more questions and we can get out of here.
Sure. How about we'll call it at 10 p.m.
Yeah. Giants fans, Tiki Barber, were heated about Saquon. Why? So it's not Tiki who does a radio show. It's Rondy Barber. I'm curious why we're giving Tiki Barber so much. Is he on a studio set somewhere? Tiki Barber?
No idea.
Did you see the quote from Tiki Barber at all, or you probably didn't?
Nope.
He was like, I'm not sure who appointed, I'm taking this from a friend, but like someone appointed Tiki Barber. Oh, he's on WFAN. Okay, that makes a lot of sense then. Tiki Barber basically has appointed himself the voice of Giants fans and was saying to Saquon Barkley, "You're dead to us. You could have been, a Giants lifer, and you went to the Eagles, so you're dead to us." And I'm like, okay, I guess. Wow, just whatever, man.
Very weird. That sort of energy is super weird, where you take things like that personally, like
a former player who was who was like the voice of the fans for that team.
Right.
Just seems very odd.
Right. And I don't know, like I don't like the idea of killing a player for leaving, but because when a team cuts a player, it's we love the guy, but sorry, this is a business.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
Only one way. Yeah. And like, God knows that the Giants have been trying to replace Saquon Barkley. They've tried a few other. Who was the oh God, what's his name? A couple of years ago, who was like sharing time with him when Barkley got hurt.
I don't know.
Well, whatever. But like, no, that's what I mean. Like, they've tried other options besides Barkley. They've tried to get away from Barkley. Like,
and I mean, it just. And if we're talking about which side needs to treat it more like a business, the team that's worth billions of dollars or the player that's career is going to last 5 years?
Yeah.
Who should be thinking things more from a business-like perspective?
No, I'll remember his name. It was probably like 3 years ago. People are throwing names out there. One last thing, and I don't know if this is a question from anyone, but it's not something I've written about yet, but I don't know how fans feel. Like, I I'm going to assume from what I've seen, most Lions fans have not seemed to care too much about what Scott Mitchell is saying, which is probably for the best. Um, because I'm not sure what Scott Mitchell is doing right now. I have been told by someone that, for those who don't know, there was an athletics piece out there. Was it late last week, Jeremy? Scott Mitchell he's been mad for a little bit now, and apparently, according to someone I talked to, Scott Mitchell has been kind of keeping this inside for a while and is someone who just didn't really let this go. He's upset. Sorry, Max Bar, I gotta get the story. So he's upset about how he feels like he is being portrayed, partly from the Bye Bye Barry documentary, but also from noticeable fans like Jeff Daniels, Eminem, and throughout history, that he is somehow at fault for the Lions of the 90s, that he's to blame because he wasn't a good quarterback or something. Now, I haven't seen the documentary Bye Bye Barry yet. I've been meaning to. A friend who has seen it seems to say that it doesn't feel like Scott Mitchell was ever under the gun too much in there.
Barely even mentioned.
No, it's mostly blamed on the front office, from my understanding. Yes. So I'm very confused why Scott Mitchell is playing the Scottie Pippen role, and that he feels upset about how he has been portrayed. So, and especially in this era with the Lions right now, where everything is really kumbaya with their former players. Nobody out here was going to say, oh yeah, Scott, nobody was going to continue to hold this against Scott Mitchell, except for a couple of fans. So I'm not sure why he's trying to pick the fight right now, other than, again, from what I've been told, this is just something that's been eating at him for a long time.
Attention.
I just
attention.
But this is bad attention. This isn't attention you want, Jeremy. I'm sorry. No one's going to take a side.
You don't believe in any press is good press?
I do not. I vehemently do not agree with that statement. I have never believed in it in my life. I know why people say it. I find it foolhardy, short-sighted, and that attention, that is bad attention. It might be good, but it will only be good for a short term, not for anything lasting.
Well, I hadn't thought about Scott Mitchell for probably a decade. And now he's at my doorstep.
But now you're not thinking of Scott Mitchell for good reasons either.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read the Athletic piece, to be quite honest. I'm not that interested in it.
Yeah. I'm just not sure, like, because it's not like he was alone among quarterbacks who, for the Lions, weren't massive successes either.
Right.
Far from it. Like, so I just don't know why he's picking the fight, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just confusing. And my message to Scott Mitchell would be, you don't have to do this. Like, the Lions would love to have you in the fold. Talk with Chris Spielman. Like, it's an era where they want every guy who's worn Honolulu blue under the banner that they can.
Maybe that's it. Like, he's jealous of the Chris Spielmans and the Lomas Browns
Barry Sanders,
who have found internal roles with the Lions where Scott Mitchell is left behind in the 90s.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe, but I mean, I don't know. I don't see Eric Kramer doing this.
Well, Eric Kramer, didn't he just drop a book?
He did, and Eric Kramer's had a very tough life.
Yeah, he's had to fight some demons.
You can read about them. They've been some tough demons in his life. So we do have this perception that Barry was a god and was perfect at everything. Nobody is perfect. Either way, it's just weird. I think that's part of it, but I think that's also the understanding. All these modern sports docs are unfortunately just there to. I mentioned the Last Dance. I mean, the big one for that is it's clearly there to wax up Michael Jordan. Anyway.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe, just maybe, running backs never mattered.
Are you really going to go here? The end zone is that the end of your long road of hyper-rationalism has led you here to denounce your God. Denounce Barry Sanders. I spit on the cross.
I have to regain some sort of, I don't know, like, confidence in running backs don't matter after today when every single damn running back signed like an $8 million plus year deal.
Really a road to Damascus moment here for Jeremy. Just Man,
Dave Reinfer, did you change your name to Three Davids? What happened there?
David Renfred.
Thank you for the 32 months subscribed. Yeah. I don't know.
I just went through a Paul Atreides arc. Let me tell you, Dune Part 2 is phenomenal. Everyone should go see it. I'm about to go see it again for a second time in the IMAX 70 millimeter.
No issue at all. Your name just dominates most of chat. Like, you're almost the entire line of chat.
It's just funny. It's good.
Yo!
Sorry, it keeps getting darker in here.
Charizard! 13 owner.
Charizard.
Because they made you change your name. Thank you for the 5 gifted
That's
subs, which I feel like it hasn't updated yet, but I think we're like 10 away from 400. 13 owners. That's right.
13 owners.
All right, I think it's about time to get out of here. As Chris mentioned, we're probably going to be doing these on a somewhat daily basis, depending on the kind of, like, if the Lions don't sign anybody tomorrow, we won't do it.
Yeah.
But as long as the Lions make somewhat significant moves or their players go somewhere else in a significant thing.
Oh my God! Wow, Madi Tuhati, thank you very much. 10 gifted subs here.
If they sign a kicker, we will specifically not go live. That's not true.
They already signed a kicker.
I know Colton Pouncey got your hopes up because all these kickers started to get released or not re-signed by their own teams. I don't know if they're going to sign like a big name kicker. Like I almost feel like it's going to be another type of who was the CFL guy they signed last year? Or the XFL guy they signed last year?
XFL. Oh,
the big leg guy. That's the kind of signing I'm expecting.
Something.
MCDC forever. Thank you for the 5 gift, John Parker Romo.
Yeah.
Not Tony Romo.
Parker
John
Romo.
Parker Romo.
John Parker Romo. Speaking of that, UFL almost back.
Don't say like that. Like people care.
People will go to Michigan Panthers games.
Barely.
Apparently they will. It's a good deal. You're bored in a March weekend.
We're at 401 subscribers, says my side of Twitch. So good job, everybody. Getting us over 400. I'm going to refund a couple Dig Into Ryan's Bookshelf claims. I didn't see them until now, and obviously he's not here. But all right, we're at 10 o'clock, which means it's time to go.
Let's groove. Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be back again tomorrow, probably around this late too, depending on when the moves come in. Thankfully, no moves happened while we were live, but Jonah Jackson just tweeted.
Oh.
Throw him a little heart his way. All right. I'm going to send you guys off to Bearded Blevins, our good friend John, who is late night streaming.
I'm unfortunate that Graham Glasgow isn't celebrating his new contract with a CS:GO stream.
Right? Maybe he's not allowed to yet. I know he acknowledged that it was happening already, but it's not official.
Oh yeah.
All right, we will see you guys maybe tomorrow, if not in a couple days, to recap more free agency news. But until then, go hang out with John, celebrate the signings that the Lions have made, laugh at the Packers for spending so much on running backs. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Boop, boop, boop. Hold on, YouTubers. Just got to make sure we got Twitch out of